Hello there, abiding fam, and hello 2020. I am truly looking forward to the future with joy because I am confident that God has an incredible story for you and for me and for this abiding family in 2020. Reflection is such an important part of beginning a new year, and so I hope that you'll check out my 2019 flip through as I reflect on last year, because in this video we are jumping full force into 2020. If you haven't already, grab yourself a cup of tea, find somewhere comfortable to sit, or maybe be at your desk with your own planner, ready to explore your abiding creativity, because we will be covering a lot in this video. But before we jump in, I do want to give a big shout out to Skillshare for sponsoring this video and for sponsoring my exploration of my creativity in the new year, and you can do the same using the link down below. I'll be talking about them more later in this video as I walk you through how I created these printables actually using one of their courses, so make sure you stay tuned until the very end. But before we get into any planning, I want to introduce you, of course, to my brand new planner, which is a hobonichi. I'll talk more about why I chose to go with the hobonichi later in another video, so if you're interested in hearing more about it, make sure you are subscribed and join the abiding fam. But for now, I'll just say that I was really excited for a little bit more structure, having the calendar layout already done for me, and the weeklies, but still with plenty of flexibility in the back pages with just plain grid space, as you're gonna see, for me to do more bullet journal style planning. And as you can see, I really liked also the fact that I could take this with me very easily. I actually put it inside of this wallet, which I'll have linked down below for you if anybody is interested. It's pretty snug. It took a little bit of elbow grease to get it into this wallet, but ultimately it fits and it's going to be just perfect for my on-the-go planning. So I have talked a lot, and I think it's about time we put some color down on a page and get to the creation of my 2020 setup. So as you're seeing, I am currently working on the cover page of the hobonichi, which comes with a little bit of text explaining what it is. It's a hobonichi Techo 2020 Mega, but I wanted to add a little bit more pizzazz and my own style to it. So I went ahead and did a watercolor background because one of the great things about a hobonichi is the paper quality. So it uses Tomoe River paper, which reacts really, really well with watercolor. And knowing that watercolor and gouache are two mediums I've really enjoyed learning how to use and developing my skills in, I decided to pick a planner with paper that would work really well with those mediums. So the watercolor I actually used is Spectrum Noir Aqua Tint, which is just a watercolor ink. And then I brought out my white gel pen to do a botanical, as well as this quick little quote at the bottom that says, "New year, new me, better me," but with new me crossed out, because what I'm really trying to focus on this year is a growth mindset and not a perfection mindset. So that is my finished cover page. And as you can see, I also used my stencil to do 2020 and some washi, as well as the Roaring 20s printable that is available on my Patreon. So next we're going to do the calendar year at a glance layout, and I cannot tell you what a joy it was to not have to draw out all of those individual dates for myself this year. Having it already done for me is a great blessing brought out by the hobonichi. So this page actually also provides a look back at 2019. So I decided to cover that up with paper, and instead I am using this as a space for my telos. And I know that's not a word many people think of or know. Telos is an ultimate end or aim, so it's what we're striving for. And it should be something we're striving for in terms of who we're forming ourselves into and who we want to become, not something we're striving towards in terms of a specific goal or achievement like running a marathon. And so my telos for the year, another way to think about this is kind of like somebody's word for a year. But my two are: one, to abide in him, so to really take my faith seriously and become a disciple of Jesus. And two, working on being present with his presence, but also being present with those around me, being present with my thoughts, being present in the moment, and also not being anxious about the future. So I encourage you to maybe consider reflecting on what your ultimate end or aim is. What is your telos for 2020? And let us know down in the comments. Or if you're somebody who chooses a word for the year, let us know what that is and the reason behind it. As you can see on this spread, I also covered up some of the Japanese stuff that goes on over on the left-hand page with another piece of paper to write out my key. I pretty much know it by heart, but it's nice still to have the reference so that it all makes sense. And then, of course, on this spread, the calendar is already laid out for me, but it uses numbers 1 through 12, so I went ahead and used this great washi tape to go over it and put the actual months in, and then did the same thing for 21 with a pen. The next spread I wanted to create, returning to more of the traditional bullet journal method, is having an index. This is something I have never done in all of my bullet journals. I've never tried actually using an index, but since using my growth book, I've actually found the index really useful in that journal, and so I thought that I would try my hand at using it in my bullet journal as well. Especially because in this bullet journal, because it's such thin pages and this planner encompasses the entire year, it means that I am going to have a lot packed into one single journal, whereas before I might have just a few months in one bullet journal, so it was easier to just find the page I was looking for. But in this case, an index is definitely going to come in handy when I have 365 days worth of journaling packed into one little journal. So that's all this is, and as you can see, I made it extra fancy with some stickers, a little bit of washi, and my printables as well. These next few spreads speak to the memory keeper in me. I wanted to have a place where I could jot down highlights for every single month. And so I did the exact same format for every month, so using 12 pages. I basically just used this stamp where it's a little ring with the month written in it, and then I embossed it as well. So I did that for January through December every single month, and on each of those pages, I will be able to journal just highlights from that month. So I think it's really important for your bullet journal to serve as a place for memory keeping as well as your planning. And now we're going to get into some of the more fun collections, starting with a to read list. This is going to be a really simple page for those of you who just want to keep it pretty minimalist. I just did that ring again. In this case, I used a stamp, but you could also just trace the bottom of a bottle, for example. And then inside of that, I wrote to read list. Like I said, very simple. So that is just a place for me to write any books I'm interested in reading. And then over here on the right, I'm creating a place to document the books I have read in 2020. And as you can see, I have little pictures printed out of each book jacket for the books that I'm going to be reading this year. I just printed out a few that I knew I would be reading. I don't plan out every single book that I'm going to read for the new year, just a few of them I know already, so that way I could figure out the right spacing and how many books I could fit on a page. So as you saw, I just did a very, very simple drawing that anybody can do of an open book. Essentially, it is two squares with the top and bottom consisting of two arcs, kind of like a very elongated M. It's a very simple and clean design to document the titles of the books that you read. In my case, I'm going to be putting in there the pages of each book as well as maybe a quick little review like best book of the year or didn't love the main character, something along those lines. By the way, I'm currently reading Little Women and absolutely loving it, and the movie was also amazing if you haven't seen it yet. Speaking of Little Women, one of the main characters in that book and in the movie is Jo, who is a writer, and that is very fitting for my next spread, which is a writing log to document my own progress in writing my books. So I'm actually a published author. I've written 2 novels. They are fantasy and historical fiction for young adults. They're called If I Fall and If I Resist, the first 2 in the Circle and Cross trilogy, and I always have them linked down below if you're interested in adding any to your to-be-read list. And I am nearing the finish line of my 3rd novel. I am currently in the writing process, but I can taste the end. It is so close, but I still, of course, have quite a lot of words to write to get there as novels go. So I wanted to create a place to document my progress and the amount of words that I write in a session. So it's just a really helpful tool when you're working on a big project to document all of the micro habits and moments that build up into the finished product. This next spread is one I've been wanting to create ever since I got married. Ben and I live in an apartment, and so we have utilities that we need to be thinking about all of the time, and those of course cost different amounts every month. And with today's society, there's just endless subscriptions and all sorts of things that we pay for. So I think having a place to track when you actually get something paid in terms of bills and subscriptions is really useful. So I created this tracker where I just have January through December represented by the letters, and then each of those little dangling bead chains. I'm not really sure what I created there. Honestly, I was just letting my pen do its own thing and wasn't really paying attention, and that's kind of what came out, was these little chains of beads that I will fill in for each month. So when we pay the gas bill for January, I will color that in to make sure that we're having a place where we can look back and say, hey, did we pay that this month? And I can just look at this tracker rather than having to go to the website for whatever bill or subscription we're talking about. And then at the bottom, I put in a place where for the ones where the amount changes, I can write in what the amount is each month, so we can kind of look at what we should be budgeting every year by the end. And then on the right, guys, I created a super simple page for a place to write needs and wants of things that I want to buy, as well as a place to jot down any gift ideas that come to mind when I'm out and about. This next spread is a very easy and simple one for a simple reason, is that I like to keep track of the movies that we watch each year, mainly the ones that we go to see in theaters, because Ben and I love doing that as a date. So I just created this little tracker that says movies, and I did then at the bottom put in a little movie strip to keep it interesting. And then on this next page, I'm looking at video ideas for these little mini movies I create every week here on YouTube. So this is just a super easy place to jot down any ideas that come to mind. And I like doing the little piece of paper on the paper, a little bit of inception with the folded corner. It just adds a cute little touch. And then I am using this printable that says you can do anything but not everything, which is also a mantra of mine this year. Something I'm really trying to instill in my heart is that I cannot achieve everything, but I can do some things very well if I put my mind to it. And that's something I need to especially keep in mind in my video creation. So I used that at the top of this tracker that will help me figure out where I am in my progress for the videos that I'm currently working on. Okay, fam, so this next spread is one that I think you're really going to enjoy. It is a morning routine spread. But before I get too far into talking about it and how I'm hitting reset on my morning routine, I want to tell you a little bit more about how I'm hitting reset on my creativity with Skillshare. Skillshare actually also seemed to hit reset because they have a brand new look. It looks so great. And their message now is explore your creativity, which, how fitting for my channel where we have the same message. Missing one word, we like to say explore your abiding creativity here. But the point is that we share in the same mission. We both want to see you take the next step in your creative journey. And Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of amazing, inspiring classes for people like us who want to delve into new creative skills. And what better time than the start of a new year to finally take that next step and pursue the creativity you've been wanting to unleash for all this time, whether that's through watercolor or illustration or photography or creating videos or maybe even digital illustration like me. I have had so much fun beginning this journey, learning how to use Procreate with these Skillshare classes. I've learned so much in such a short amount of time, and I know that you can do the same. So make sure that you check out the link down below and join Skillshare. Join this amazing community for 2 months completely free and start exploring your creativity, or as we like to say here, your abiding creativity. So all of the illustrations you're seeing me create here, I created for my patrons. They are printables that were put out last month, and new printables are created for them every single month. So if you're interested in the ones you've seen and want access to more than 35 other printable sheets and new ones every month, as well as some other perks like exclusive videos, as well as early access to my YouTube videos without the ads, then maybe consider supporting me over on Patreon. It is a huge blessing for my channel and for me and my family, and I'm just so grateful to my patrons, and I love getting to know you guys on that deeper level, so I just love to have you join that community over there as well. But for now, let's turn it back to this morning routine spread that I'm creating. So as you saw, I put down the side using this great number washi I have, 5 through 9, representing the times of the morning that are my ideal earliest wake up time, and also the time that is around when I have to go to work. So I have to be at work by 8:30. So I just put in 9 for nice, beautiful consistency in my numbering. And then, as you saw, I did a little quote on the right that says, "It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life, and I'm feeling good." So we all obviously know that song, and how fitting for a morning routine page. Now, what is different about my morning routine page is that I have made it so that I am figuring out what my routine would look like depending on when I get up. So on my most ideal day, I would be getting up at 5, and then I would have all this wonderful time in the morning before work to get ready and go to the gym and do some Bible study and even get some writing in at a local cafe nearby my work. On a less productive day, I might just have time for Bible study. And on my least productive day, that fourth one down at the right, is a day where I would only have time to get ready and get to work. So ideally, I'm going to have as many mornings as possible over on the left, but this kind of is just a visual representation of what I can get done when I wake up early and just get my day started on the right note. I created a fun video around Christmas time on my morning routine for that season, but let me know down in the comments if you would like to see a morning routine video that's a little bit more general. Alright fam, this is the last collection I created for this video, and this is my 20 in 2020 list. So essentially what this is a place for me to write down the 20 things that I've been saying I'm going to do or have wanted to do and just simply haven't or have been putting off because it's an annoying chore or it just feels like too big of a project that I've been putting it off. And so this is my place to document that these things exist and have been in the back of my mind forever, and to say this is the year that I finally get these things done. Now, this ranges from something as basic as fixing the radio in my car, which has been broken, which is horrible for me, who loves to listen to audiobooks and podcasts on my 40-minute drive to work. But it's also something like finish my novel or finally edit my honeymoon footage that I took so much of into an actual video. So that is the goal of this page, is to finally get all of those things that usually hang out in the back of your mind down on paper so that you can get them done. All right, fam, so we are in the home stretch, and you're actually getting a 2-for-1 in this video because it's not only my 2020 setup, but also my January setup. So I decided to just put this footage in with this entire video because I did it very simply and quick, partly because the great thing about using a hobonichi planner as a bullet journal is you don't have to draw out all the calendars and do all that extra work. So I just had fun with purely decorating. So I went in with my Fine Tech watercolors and did a little bit of a background effect, and then also did some hand lettering of January, just because I thought it looked nice to make it a little bit bigger on the side, even though it's written on there already very small at the top. And I also used those printables, so the cute little washi banner and the one that says growth. And I thought this washi that has these vintage women on it was neat because it kind of has a 20s vibe to me. And then I just kind of ran with that vintage vibe by also throwing in some of this vintage postage washi as well. So for this one, I also wanted to bring in those same botanicals that are within my printables. So just carrying that out throughout this entire planning session was a really nice way to tie everything together, using those similar colors that I used in that planning with the blush, and then also those same types of sketchy botanical illustrations that I've been so fond of lately. So that is the finished setup for my January calendar spread. And then I also wanted to show you all what it looks like in my weekly spreads. So I'm going to set up one weekly, where the way a hobonichi is set up, you have your week down on the side, Monday through Sunday, just a little space to write your to-dos, but then you have this blank page on the right that you can really do anything with, which is great if you want to still use some of the bullet journal-like things you would be using in a regular bullet journal. So what I did is I had a place to write to-dos that I could do it in a format where I have a little bit more room for things that maybe don't fit on the left. So I'm thinking that maybe what I'll do is use the left more for events and appointments, and then do a to-do list that is a running to-do list for the entire week over on the right. And then also I did some habits down there. Unfortunately, I wasn't thinking about my pen and then went over it with my Tombow pen and it smudged, but oh well. And you also saw that I created a little place on the weekly where I have a place to write in my meal plan for the week too, so breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then I just decorated it with some more printables and stickers. It looks a little Valentine's Day-y now that I look back on it, but nonetheless, I was happy with the way it turned out, and I'm excited to continue experimenting with the weekly setups in the hobonichi. So guys, that is my entire setup for 2020. And the great thing about a bullet journal is I can always add more to it. I have more collections I know I want to create, and I have tons of space to explore my abiding creativity throughout this year. And I hope that you will be there with me on that journey. So make sure that you join the Abiding fam by hitting that subscribe button. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and leave me a comment answering some of those discussion questions that are down below. And I will see you guys in my next video. And of course, guys, also really consider taking advantage of those free 2 months to try out Skillshare. I really think that you will learn so much within that time, and will likely want to continue that learning well into the rest of 2020. I can't wait to see what we create in the rest of these blank pages, and until then, guys, keep exploring your own abiding creativity and document a life full of abiding joy, hope, and love.